As much as we do not want to admit it, a lot of us are responsible for Jaguar's comments. We may not be the ones saying it, but we are the ones that are oftentimes obsessed with the things, even when they are not true. Let's talk about it.
Y'all already know what time it is. I got the black V-neck on.
What's going on, you all? Jaguar Wright went on Piers Morgan and made some interesting claims, so much to the point that Jay-Z and Beyoncé had to get litigation involved through their attorneys, lawyers, and Piers Morgan had to release a statement and apologize to Jay-Z and Beyoncé. Now, I am not mad at Jay-Z or Beyoncé for doing that because these are very serious claims. This whole situation is very serious, and Jaguar has been making comments about the industry and all of the things for a while now. She has made claims about several folks over time, and some of it makes sense, some of it is believable. And some of the things that she has said, I'm asking, what is the end goal when you are building a platform and now being flued out and giving these interviews about these things that have happened? Do you really care about the things that have happened, the things that you have alleged, the things that you have seen? And I believe some of Jaguar's claims, not from the one that she did with Piers Morgan, because I'm just not interested in that, period. But when people talk about some of the stuff that happens in the industry and how people were taken advantage of, it makes sense. There's been jokes and comments made about Diddy for years. Like, celebrities have sat next to him knowing the jokes, knowing people have said about, the Diddy parties and all that. But the way we sensationalize these stories is the reason why people like Jaguar are allowed to do that, why they continue to do it, why they feel emboldened to do it. Because even when the situation happened with the lawsuit with Cassie and Diddy, and Cassie's attorneys released, the things that were happening, and we were reading and seeing like the stuff that she had experienced, people wanted to see it go to court. And people were upset that it was never going to court, that Diddy had settled for whatever amount. Like, people wanted to see Diddy on trial and all of that. And people didn't understand that it is ultimately about the victim and what the victim wants. Cassie settling with Diddy instead of going to court was for her. We were only bystanders in the way of consuming Diddy as a celebrity, as a influencer, and as an artist sometimes. Like, we did not have no immediate connections with Diddy. We were not around. We didn't experience any of these things. We can check in and check out. We were not harmed in the process. So we didn't need to see it go to trial. And we have now turned these things into like social media, like memes and funny and jokes and stuff. And I get that we make jokes about things to deal with the pain and stuff, but at the expense of somebody else doesn't make any sense. Like, now you have people making skits on TikTok and YouTube with baby oil. Now you have people making jokes about baby oil and the no Diddy situation. Like, the only reason why people are making jokes about Diddy in that type of way is because of the conversations about the male workers and the assumption that Diddy was homosexual. Like, it wasn't about the things that Diddy did without consent, and folks not understanding how consent forever changes. If someone is intoxicated and someone is, inebriated or, on some type of drug, they can't really consent. And we need to have a conversation about that. But a lot of folks will be uncomfortable because they will have to then re-examine how they move. The world that we live in is built on like our culture, like how we engage, how we think things are okay. Like, the culture is so embedded in us, And we just think it's okay. We think it's okay to make jokes about, getting someone intoxicated to make them want to engage in activities. So no one saw any issues with that. But for Diddy to be doing this with men, that was where folks drew the line. And it wasn't even out of concern of the man that allegedly, if it happened, that he did these things too or whatever. Like, it was more on, you are doing these acts, period. Like, you're gay. Like, that's it. That was all of the concern. It wasn't about consent. It only became a little bit serious when the report came out that a 9-year-old might have been involved. Like, one of the victims was as young as 9. That was when things became serious for some. That was when things became serious. And it's just telling, because we have folks making jokes about all the harm that these folks were experiencing under Diddy. We have whole celebrities who were sitting next to Diddy, seeing him do these harmful things, knowing he was doing these things, and still took pictures with him. They didn't say anything. Like, again, the culture is so embedded that they didn't say anything, they didn't do anything. And honestly, some of them probably didn't want to take the chance of shaking something up because they didn't want to lose out on being their own celebrities. They didn't want to lose anything in the process. They didn't want to lose anything. So we don't really have too many people to stand up to things like this. So we have this person like Jaguar Wright, who is talking about the industry, and we know that she has connections. She's able to do things in a way that benefits her at the end of the day. Like, she's able to tell these stories about the things that she has saw. Like, she's not, quote unquote, trying to be a celebrity in that type of, situation. She isn't losing anything. She's already lost everything. So now she is gaining a new type of celebrity by telling these stories, and she's being rewarded with it by going on interviews and getting more attention. So when you had this happening, sometimes a person might exaggerate some claims to get more attention, which ends up sensationalizing the stories and takes us away from the real conversations of what is happening. We can't even have conversations about the real things because we're so focused on the sensationalizing of these elaborate stories of things that have happened and, oh my God, shocking details. It's like, where do we go from here? What is the end goal of telling these stories about these things that have happened, like, over and over again? Like, what is going on? And I'm not blaming Jaguar for, not standing up or not saying anything. And I'm not necessarily mad at her for sharing these things that she experienced, even at the harm of herself, but rewarding her with more visibility and all of these things, it's disgusting. Like, it is disgusting to the people who have experienced these things. Like, it adds more sensationalizing of these harmful acts. People were more interested in seeing Cassie being re-triggered and re-traumatized by these things to see what is happening. People were more interested in seeing Cassie go through these things again and living them through, like, entertainment lens. People were interested in seeing this go to court because they wanted the entertainment of it. Like, they strictly were interested in the entertainment, because for some who are so concerned about the harmful things that happen in the industry, we still hear these things right now. We're hearing stories of how a very well-known female rapper has lied about what her husband has been accused of, lied about it, and the things that she has done to a person who was a victim of domestic violence, like, and still supporting. So it's just, we are no different, a lot of us. Like, we are not challenging ourselves to want better. we're not challenging ourselves to want better. Like, we are still out here making excuses for listening to said artists who've been accused of abuse. Like, I am not going to a club and I hear said artists. Like, we are just okay with things. We are okay with things. Like, we make excuses for things. And we do that at the benefit of ourselves. Like, you hear people make excuses for why they listen to said artists and removing them from the art, even when the music is talking about the things they have done. Like, we're listening to that and we just check out. Like, all of this stuff is entertainment. Like, all of it is entertainment and we're obsessed with it. That's why I really do not blame Ari Lennox for saying that she is moving to completely be offline, off of TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, all of it. She says she doesn't want to be online. And I don't blame her. Like, I don't blame her, because being online, it can be a lot to see all these people make jokes about very serious subjects. We're hearing stories about folks being harmed, like, by this very powerful figure in Hollywood who has been known for years. And now we're seeing this person in jail awaiting trial, and now it's jokes about it. The same way that folks were making jokes about these parties, we are no different. Like, and when I say we, I say it's a society, not saying that you watching me are making jokes and finding the videos of the baby oil skits and stuff funny, but overall, just the things, period. Like, as a society, how we're seeing these constant, like, jokes and memes of these things that have happened. Like, people are making whole parties around it. Like, there are even parties in Atlanta I saw where folks were saying, like, it's sick. And it really takes away from the seriousness of it. It takes away from the seriousness of what is happening. So when I say that we're all complicit in why a person like Jaguar exists, not saying that she's right or wrong, but I'm saying that how we engage, and we're so interested in watching and consuming these things, we have lost sight of what these things look like. And I'm nervous, because even watching the storm, the hurricanes, and the damage that has happened over the last 2 weeks in Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, and how people are saying that it doesn't look as bad, it wasn't that bad. We used to be in a point where we would see storms like this once in a lifetime, or once so often, that we would see celebrities then do these fundraisers and all the other stuff. Like, it was just something we've not seen before. But now, since social media, we're constantly seeing these things that we don't even think they're bad anymore. Like, we're consuming so much, like, stressful stuff that now we don't even see the things that are legit bad as that bad anymore. And I'm not necessarily saying it's our fault, because it's how our brain reacts to things. And also, letting us know that us being online and being connected has us disconnected from a lot of things. Like, us being connected and being able to talk to people across the globe has us connected, but disconnected at a sense, like desensitized to the things that we are seeing, like the violence that we are seeing. We are desensitized to it, to the point now we're making jokes about it. And I understand jokes and satire and how we make jokes about stuff to bring comments and awareness to a specific thing, but making jokes about baby oil skits and stuff, what does that do? And we'll look at someone like a Jaguar Wright and like, oh my gosh, girl, you doing all this? Like, she's the same thing. She's doing the same thing. She's sensationalizing experiences and stuff that are traumatic, like, for attention. Again, I don't blame Jay-Z and Beyoncé for going and getting lawyers and attorneys and stuff involved with this situation, because it is serious. Like, I don't want to be attached to that. The fact that Jay-Z and Beyoncé had to get lawyers and stuff involved, it makes sense. But at the same time, we don't know where y'all stand, because y'all are not saying anything. you all were taking pictures and kicking it with him. Y'all were going to brunch and all that other stuff, and you know, kicking it with Diddy. You might not have been at the parties, but you probably have heard of the things that were going on. So it's just like, as in tune as you all are and aware as you all are, like you all had to know that Diddy had some history of these things. And the fact that you all still hung out with him is questionable, to be honest. It is questionable. And we've not heard y'all say that y'all, hey, don't condone this. Like, that ain't da-da-da. We've not heard y'all say that. And some people will say, well, that's not their business. They don't want to speak on that, da-da-da. Yeah, they only speak on things when it's beneficial from them. Yes, nobody wants to speak on something like this. Nobody wants to do it. But at the end of the day, you need to let your stance be heard. Like, hey, I'm not messing with that. Like, I'm not messing with that. I do think it's kind of like interesting that we're seeing more videos and promotion for Sir Davis and all this stuff. But girl, you were sitting next to a person and partying with a person who was slapping his then girlfriend, who was way younger than him, in a hotel. There's a picture of all y'all cheers to the weekend. Like, like, what's going on? Like, what's going on? It's like y'all only do things that is beneficial for you all. And like, I feel like if celebrities were more stern in their politic and standing for something, they would not have to worry about situations like this. Like, you know, you wouldn't have to. And not saying that Jay-Z and Beyoncé were okay with these things. Not saying that Jay-Z and Beyoncé saw these things, but they have had to hear it. And if y'all are truly committed to like being around folks, y'all can't just say y'all don't work with artists and stuff who have, you know, whatever. Like, y'all make sure to go through. You also need to do that with y'all friend groups and who y'all choose who y'all want to be around. Y'all have security that lives with y'all. You all can pick and choose who you all want to be around. But the fact that y'all don't, it's questionable, if anything. And you know, it's unfortunate, like, to be honest, it's unfortunate that they had to get lawyers involved. And I do not blame them. And Piers Morgan has a axe to grind. He is not a big fan of Beyonce. He's not a big fan of Beyonce. And this obsession that everyone is doing with trying to tie any of these things to Jay-Z and Beyonce is a little tiring too. Like, I'm not going to hold you. Like, trying to make it seem as though like Jay-Z was doing something with Foxy Brown at one point. Like, y'all fans trying to do that. Like, there is things, you know, that can be talked about. Once again, the situation with them being friends with Diddy. Like, question, when did y'all know it? How long did y'all know it? Like, all of these questions, like, you know, y'all, this was y'all friend. This was y'all friend. So it's like, they should say something. But a lot of folks are not going to ask these questions because of their parasocial relationships with artists and celebrities and stuff. And it's too real for them. But again, I don't blame them for getting legal involved in this, because like, girl, that ain't got nothing to do with me. Don't make these claims, these false claims, and mess up my image and my brand and all the other stuff for stuff I did not do. But again, it would have been better had y'all distanced yourselves if y'all have ever heard or known of any of these things. Like, the fact that you all have not said anything. I do think celebrities, when things like this happen, need to speak up. They need to say something. If you have been around somebody who's been accused of these things, yes, you do need to say something. I don't care about their professionalism or all of that, because girl, let me tell you something. I don't want to be around you. And I have been honest about, like, hey, I don't want to be around said person. Like, I am not feeling them. Like, I don't want to be in the same setting. I don't want to be associated with it. It's point blank, period. But, you know, sometimes we want to have these connections with these folks because of the celebrity that it gives us. And all of us are somewhat guilty of it in some sort of way, even in the music that we consume, the folks who we do not want to let go. We all do in a certain type of way, but celebrities are like notorious for it, because they will see someone in a position of power to be able to harm folks in a scale that a person who does not have that type of resources and money cannot do. Like, it's there, but the culture of it needs to end. And I just, you know, that's my thoughts. Like, that's my thoughts when it comes to Jaguar Wright and her claims and stuff about Jay-Z and Beyoncé is that at the end of the day, like, what is this doing but building you a platform of you talking about all of these things and you gaining celebrity from this? Like, it is disgusting. And it takes away from the real seriousness of the things that are happening in the world with folks who have experienced these things. Like, we need to talk about that. That's all I got. Let me know what y'all think in the comments. Let me know and talk y'all later. Bye.